Look at how sound and music have been playing such a vital role in Russia's invasion of Ukraine. From the very first night, we saw music. And it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that musicians have been at the forefront, leading the resistance, leading the protests, leading all of the world's response to what we are seeing still 3 years later. And it's not a coincidence because in Ukraine, musicians are viewed as sacred individuals. When we really go back into the history of music in Ukraine, we look at the iconic image of the bandura player, the bandurist. Has anyone ever heard a bandura player? Usually they're older, usually they're male. Historically, they were blind. They had a young boy, a povodir, somebody who would lead them from village to village, and they would sing two genres. They would sing the sacred songs, the psalms, of which there are not that many, but everyone had a very special psalm that they would sing. And then they would sing the history. They would sing the epic songs, the dume. And these epic songs were the oral tradition, the oral history of the people. And they would move from village to village, and people would come into the center square, and they would hear the sounds, and they would hear the news of what had happened in another village or in the past, right? The past being a figurative space. And then one day, all the bandura players disappeared. In 1935, they were called to a folklore festival, and they were going to be recorded for posterity. They were sent east, and they never returned. So that tradition died in one sense, but it also carried on underground. And people have been singing those songs, the dume, the psalms, also other songs about everyday experiences, even when everything was forbidden. So think of that time when Russia had turned Ukraine into the Soviet Union, and Ukrainian language was not allowed to be recorded. And anything that was recorded onto cassettes and LPs had to be censored and reviewed by Moscow, where the main music industries were. So music has always had this very important role because that was something that they couldn't take away. You could take an instrument and you could break it. And there's a monument in Kharkiv, in the eastern city of Kharkiv, that has homage to the bandurist with the broken bandura. But nobody can take away your voice. As I lose mine, because I get emotional when I talk about this. But nobody can take away your voice, and the stronger you are singing alongside somebody, the stronger the response is. And so if you can think of this figurative and metaphorical voice that began 3 years ago with a TikTok video that was recorded by Andriy, actually it was a TikTok video, it was Instagram, and uploaded to social media with the song Oi Uluzi, Chervona Kalina, and we actually heard it at the protest today. And how it went viral, and then how the Kifnis added beats to it, and then sampled it, and then we started to hear it over and over again, and it became the anthem of this war. And then how other musicians began uploading all the kinds of music, everyday sounds that they were making, whether in the underground metros that they were hiding from the Russian bombs, or looking at the violinists that were recording themselves in the basement as they were performing for others. Then there were live streams of musicians coming from the metros and from the basements. And then we had the soldiers, as they were uploading all of their videos of them dancing in the fields and telling everyone that it's going to be okay. And then we start to see a shift in the music as people become more reflective and the horrors of what has set in were beginning to shape the sounds. And we start to see the sirens that everybody has on their phones and hearing in the cities being sampled into the music itself. So today we're actually going to hear numerous genres. We're going to hear pop music, we're going to hear folk music, we're going to hear classical music, and how each of these genres has taken on a life of its own, and how it continues to live on in YouTube. So this is a phenomenon that we actually haven't seen before. This is the first war that's really been live streamed, and we can really see how all of these memories are being captured on the internet and being reformulated and sampled and reimagined and reinterpreted by other musicians, people who are coming into the war that were younger, that weren't participating and are now participating. So this is a very, very unique film. I won't say anything else about it. Thank you for listening to this brief introduction, and we're going to hear from the filmmaker himself.